Hey everybody, hope you're doing well, but we have a lot to cover in this video. It's gonna be a long video. Whew. So in this video, we're actually going to be covering two major things that have come up. The first one is there was a 13-team letter that was sent to Psyonix. It was put on the eSports Observer, and we'll be going over that line by line, kind of explaining the details and some of the background information about what actually has gone down, some of the changes that have already been coming into effect, as well as some insight from myself, my experiences working with Psyonix, as well as pro player feedback like GarrettG. Second part, there has been a whole lot of things that they promised back in a roadmap in 2017, right after Season 2 landed in Amsterdam, and kind of comparing the results to that to where we're at now. And the third part is obviously with Fusion RL coming up with Johnny Boy and Civic, there has been a lot of roster changes, so we're going to quick deep dive and update you guys on all the rosters that have been making those notes. So if you guys haven't seen the article on the eSports Observer, there was a post by the name of multiple Rocket League Championship Series teams send letter of grievances to Psyonix. And this letter does detail a lot of different information. It goes over a lot of different facets, but the number one thing, and the easiest way to summarize this if you haven't seen it, is that 13 organizations, BDS, Endpoint, United, G2, Mouse Sports, Energy, Pittsburgh Knights, Vitality, Rogue, Singularity, Space Station Gaming, Susquehanna Sonics, and Veloce all agreed that there was not enough communication coming from Psyonix and that something needs to change. So the way this article starts is the eSports Observer obtained a letter that not only did they send to Psyonix, but also went to the server. We'll get into why that's important in just a bit here. But it goes on to state that they are trying to address a list of grievances regarding the handling and administrative practices surrounding the RLCS. According to the letter, as it states, teams are voicing their concerns about what they view as a lack of communication between the league and themselves, conditions surrounding slot ownership, prize money distribution, and monetization of the league for the publisher and teams. A lot of their concerns are mostly about communication with Psyonix. I talked a bit about this on stream the other day over at twitch.tv/Lawler, and it'll probably go into this a little bit more detail than what I am because I'm trying to make this succinct for you guys. But one of the frustrations I had most as a caster was the lack of communication, even though I was working with Psyonix directly as a contractor. So my number one thing that was always a complaint was lack of communication. I never knew things ahead of time. I worked for them for roughly 4 years, and I have not taken a vacation since I've worked in esports professionally. I've never taken a trip. I've never done anything. A big reason as to why that is because I genuinely could not plan ahead. I would find out format changes to the RLCS from Reddit. I wouldn't know about tournaments ahead of time. I wouldn't know about certain things. And as talent, it's really frustrating because I'm trying to plan my life and make myself available. Even if I don't get hired for those events or not, I still would like to know when they're going to be, or a general idea of what's going to happen. So mentally, I can be like, okay, I need to make sure I'm available for these times and these dates, so I can either make sure that I am not having any plans, or that I'm not hired for this event. Okay, I can book something on this time, so I'm available. But for some reason in the world of esports, everything's kind of done last minute, and it's a general grievance from not just the orgs, but the talent to the production, like everybody involved. Heck, there's supposed to be a event coming up soon, and we still don't know any of the details, any of the finalization. We don't know any of what's supposed to be happening because it's all in rumors. So there's a lot of concern about just communication in general, and it's not just Psyonix. This is spread across numerous esports, and it happens continuously, and that's why people strive to have those kind of roadmaps, because it tells me like, okay, we plan to do an event this time, and this time throughout the year. This is the general idea, and then the public can not only prepare for it, but the major concern from the orgs is they have no time to prepare social media postings. They can't get their content creation teams to promote it. They don't know how to advocate and make sure that they do stuff. I think G2 is a primary org in this, where they tend to make custom jerseys during these times, and they can't do any of that kind of special stuff and try to build the hype around it by making, exclusive, merch or whatever it is, because they just don't know. They genuinely don't know, and I think that's a big issue. So the letter goes on to not only critique them for that, but also the big thing that I wish more people would do is they recommended fixes. And that's in the next kind of line, is they talk about how the letter goes on to recommend fixes to a perceived, quote, lack of communication that include publisher and league bi-weekly calls with team owners and associated personnel to cover scheduled updates, partnership opportunities, marketing opportunities, and content tie-ins to team initiatives. The orgs are basically saying like, hey, we get that you guys are busy, but these are the type of things that we want. These are the types of things that we recommend. We would love to have weekly meetings and discuss with you guys things and give our feedback. We've been doing this for tons of other esports, and we would like to bring it over to you guys because you're relatively new to it still. We would love to be able to talk about partnership opportunities, like how can we get our people involved or even do some of our own stuff on the outside to make more eyes go on to the Rocket League esport. You need to know ahead of time so we can plan this stuff because it's not stuff we can just do last minute, spur of the moment. And then the other thing is content tie-ins, which is I just kind of talked about, is the ability to make more content or do other things in regards to the events or the weekly stuff. Right now, the only content that teams really make is team comms, which is because they can do it after the fact. But you go into LAN and most teams will send some sort of content production team with their organization to follow their teams through LAN. So after LAN is done, they can do it. And the reason why they can do that is because LAN is usually announced a month plus in advance or at the beginning of the season. They have all this time to prepare and fund and make sure finances are in line. So when the time does come, yes, send a couple people to Spain, take all the content and all the B-roll that you want, and we'll produce a video and try to get more eyes and make our money's worth and try to make some of that back through social media or what have you. The next part in the letter reads, additionally, concerns regarding the scheduling of the league in terms of dates and times were addressed in the letter. We also ask that season schedules and upcoming events be shared well in advance as to allow us to plan and market accordingly. Self-explanatory. I'm in the exact same poll of that. I want information as soon as possible so people can plan around it. You can think about to LAN when LAN was announced only weeks in advance. It's like, how am I supposed to schedule booking a hotel, flights, and making sure that I can take time off of work and get all these things done when I don't have enough of a leeway to make that stuff happen in the first place? So the concerns are definitely heard, and I think it affects a lot of people. It's not just the esports orgs that have been wanting this. It's been something that's been discussed across the entire community for a very long time, myself included. Even though I was working the event, I still did not have enough of a notification to really satisfy my concerns. The other thing is the sources that provide this also state that infrequent communication and long response times to the questions make it difficult and hurt the team's, quote, ability to properly market their franchises, which makes sense. You're investing hundreds of thousands of dollars every couple months, and you want to find a way to make sure that you can market it and promote it to the best of the ability. The next thing that's been talked a lot about, not just through this article, but also on the subreddit, is because people are having a miscommunication. They're not exactly sure what this means, but the owners state that the RLCS slots are owned by the players. Right now, Psyonix works directly with the players when it comes to prize pools and organization. The players own the roster spots, so if they choose to kick a player or what have you, org leaves and comes back in, it is entirely owned by the players. And the orgs, obviously, because they want to have their best interest in mind, do say that we're spending, up to $40,000 a month. And I find it ridiculous that a 15, 16, 17-year-old kid at the end of the contract can just be like, peace, with no repercussion. And I understand that. The organizations, it makes sense that they want to be able, because they are viable, like they're reliable for the players' health, their well-being, their growth, the financial withdrawal, like everything is up to the orgs and they receive nothing for it. Like there's no communication to them. Their players have the ability to dictate whether they stay or go. They have all rights removed from themselves, but they're footing the bill for everything. And I can tell you right now, if these orgs all pull out, a lot of those players are going to be really upset about the way they handled stuff. Now, the complication with this also comes with a lot of people on the Reddit, like I mentioned, talking about how it's not just owning the spot. A lot of people think this is what franchising is, and it is not. If you have not seen my video on franchising, check it down below in the description. I will make sure it's linked. But franchising and esport has nothing to do with what these orgs want. These orgs want to own the spot. It's totally different. Franchising is where you pay for a spot, and no matter what, win, loss, no matter how you perform, that spot is owned by that organization. Think about the NFL. The NFL, no matter how poorly the Browns do every single year, If they go 0-16, the Browns still have a spot in their conference. In the RLCS, teams will still promote and demote, and all that stuff still happens, but the orgs get more ownership about how things are dictated and decided when it comes to, hey, we want to draft a roster, we want to make plays happen. There's ways to compromise with this. One of the things and ways that Psyonix does this is the 2/3 rule. If you guys aren't familiar, a player who is considered a starter on the roster must play at least 50% of the matches. If not, they do not qualify as a starter. And in order to keep your roster in the RLCS every season, you must keep at least 2/3 of your starting roster. So there is ways to still give control to the players and dictate about who stays and who goes. But the benefit of orgs that are providing the funding and have professional backing and financial support and marketing and all the benefits is the decisions, like the petty, silly arguments that young kids have because they're still trying to figure out who they are as people, are going to have some benefit behind them to making sure that the business conversations and all the things that they struggle with going to with orgs or Psyonix, the business works as their middleman. And even though it gives up some power, it does allow in my opinion, the league and the esport to take a step up in professionalism, which I think is desperately needed. Now, the other concern too is about the way that Psyonix does the eSports shop. In theory, it's a good idea, but their frustration is more so about how the shop applies. There's no direct monetary compensation that comes from the league, so they have to rely on other methods to create revenue, as it states in the article. One of the different revenue shares is based upon the shop. If you guys haven't seen the shop, it works very similar to the way that you purchase skins and items. They rotate randomly. There is no dedicated time. And a lot of the orgs are probably frustrated because there are certain times where their items are not available in the shop. Like, imagine Energy wins the World Championship and you can't go buy the Energy decal because it's not part of the rotation. Certain things like that, that scarcity, that false sense of unavailability is really frustrating to a lot of orgs. Orgs believe that you should be able to go and buy and support our stuff as much as you want, whenever you want, and that scarcity doesn't really work. If the people want to buy our stuff, they're going to do it, whether it's here now or here later. Even though you're buying a Cloud9 decal, portions of that go to Psyonix, part of it goes to every org. It's not just Cloud9, it goes to Cloud9, G2, like it's split between everybody, and then some of it goes to the players. Here's to the juicy stuff, and if you guys have made it this far, I greatly appreciate it. If you guys enjoy the content, make sure you drop comments down below if you have more questions, and I might be able to do a follow-up video for this. But again, make sure you subscribe and hit the like, as it does help me out greatly, as we're trying to provide as much insight to this that you can't get anywhere else. The unique thing about this is not the first time this has actually happened. Without naming orgs or specifics, there has been times in the past where orgs have gotten together and basically unionized and expressed frustrations to Psyonix. This is not the first time, but based upon what I know, this is definitely not the first time this has happened. What's unique about this time is it is the first time that that same letter they sent to Psyonix has also been sent to a well-known journalistic site. And I think the main reason why is to apply pressure to Psyonix, which excites me, but it also scares me. And there's two sides to this. We'll start with the excited part. So the exciting thing about this is it feels like the reason why they're doing this is because Psyonix in the past, from my experience, has always been concerned about what people view from them publicly. Whether things are improving or not, whether we're still not getting new game modes or we are, Psyonix has always been extremely concerned about what the public eye is. They wanted to make sure that their intellectual property, their IP in Psyonix and Rocket League, is always viewed in a positive light. Anytime an article is talked about it, anytime anything is referenced about Rocket League, they want to make sure it's positive, even if behind the scenes things are on fire. Not saying they are. So because of them speaking about this publicly and showing this, and now it is made public for myself and you guys to see, it puts pressure on Psyonix, and they're forcing their hand to say, hey, if changes don't happen, people are going to know. We put the pressure on you to fix it. Now's your opportunity to fix it, because right now we're really fucking frustrated. So I respect the orgs for doing it professionally behind the scenes and giving the opportunity to Psyonix, but I think at this point they're just like, you know what? We've given you the chance. We're now making it public. If you guys don't fix things, and this is the scary part, we're fucking gone. This is, quite honestly, do or die for Rocket League Esports, and that partially scares me because all of us are extremely passionate about it. I know plenty of orgs, especially like Space Station, that just invested in a bunch of content creators. They love this esport and know it has a ton of potential, but it seems like Psyonix is the one getting in their own way. Makes me nervous is if things continue to trend the same way, we will no longer have an esport to root for because the orgs are going to pull out, player salaries are going to get removed, and now kids are going to realize that you can't do it without making content on your own and trying to survive. This letter is pretty much an end-all to be-all, in my opinion, for Rocket League Esports. Either things get extremely good from now on, or they don't. I will say, after speaking to GarrettG on stream, he was surprised that they made this public. Based upon what he's heard and what he said on my stream is the organizations and the guys that I've talked to have said that since they had this conversation or sent this letter, things have gotten better, and they're happy. And this was weeks ago. And from what they've been saying, things are looking good. I can say from my experience with working Psyonix recently, things do feel like they're changing. It's going back to the community focus. They're putting effort into community tournaments and improving things, and things are starting to trend in the right direction. So he was surprised that this was made public, and I think that's why I am to the conclusion where I am. Orgs are frustrated, they require change, and the only way to do that is to put pressure on them. So all in all, this is a very, very important thing that has happened. If you guys have a Q&A, just put like Q&A in your comment and then leave a question and we'll do a follow-up video for just this part. It's gonna be a long video. Whew. Second part, follow-up. Rocket League Esports in 2017. You should see right now on your screen a post that was made in February 8th of 2017 by Josh Watson, former head of esports at Psyonix. He's recently stepped down. I talked about this in a video recently. This post talks about some very interesting things. There was supposed to be a big focus on that, and this was 3 years ago, and a lot of these things are now gone, and it feels like that focus and a lot of things they talk about in this article didn't happen. Things like numerous in-game esports features and enhancements. The only thing we've gotten is that esports tab with rotating items. Nothing else. A robust new esports hub on the Rocket League website. Half the rosters aren't updated, most of the stuff doesn't work, the stats aren't up to date, and anytime we ask them for information, they push us to Liquipedia. The website, quite honestly, doesn't have a schedule, doesn't have rosters up to date, and is, quite frankly, buggy, it doesn't work on mobile, and is atrocious. Completely honest. Extensive funding for community tournaments. Most of the community run tournaments no longer exist, but I will say with that said, that is going to be changing soon with news to come. Stay tuned. Bigger, more meaningful appearances at multiple major competitive gaming festivals. PAX had its 4 events. IEM put a halt in that with the Olympics situation, but community run tournaments and stuff don't exist, and the PAXs that I've been to and have worked at have had like a brawl or drop shot like 2K tournament or something where they give away t-shirts. It hasn't lived up to the expectations that they set. And I think that's where the frustration comes in. So to honestly wrap this all up, I know it's pretty long-winded and I appreciate you guys have made it this far, but it feels like a lot of these promises fell short and they didn't live up to the expectations of people, or the lack of communication doubled down on top of that. It felt like things fell short and people are frustrated because we didn't hear anything and the things that we were promised we never received. So, and if we did receive them, they didn't feel, I guess, enough to satisfy our craving. I hope the pressure makes things better. I hope things trend in the right direction. And from my personal experiences and from other things I've been hearing that I unfortunately can't share currently, things are going in the right direction, but hopefully stay tuned. You guys will hear about those things in the coming weeks. Now for the last part, roster changes galore. Picture Sunless Khan yelling roster changes all the time. If you guys don't stop by the stream too often, we do a document that I'll link in the description down below that basically details all the rumors, notable changes, and things that are up to date and only official. Until they are confirmed by the players or the orgs, they do not change, but we do have a section for rumors and official things over on the side. but up-to-date news and information is always in that document. There is so many different things that are happening right now, and it's going to be a crazy domino effect, but I can tell you the best place to find it is on this channel. I will keep you guys up to date to the best of my ability, and as always, check that document. It is open to the public. It is updated pretty much live to the date by my sleep schedule. As long as I'm awake, I'll do it. So again, that link will be found in the description down below. Again, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns about any of these rosters, or if you would like me to do a Q&A about this eSport org situation with the 13 of them signing pretty much a union, if you want to call it that, please let me know in the comments down below. Leave like Q&A and then a question, and I'll do a follow-up video for you guys, and we can put that out like Tuesday or something. But that is going to do it for me. This is going to be a pretty hefty one to edit, so I'm going to get right on top of that so we can get it out for you guys tomorrow. And if you guys are down, today it is going to be a Veloce charity match. I'm casting that with Shogun. That goes live at 2 p.m. Eastern, so please come join us. We'd love to have you in chat, and I hope to see you there. Peace.